So first is Domaine la Perle, and that is Mariko Kawasaki. And anyone reading along in my book, that will be page 226, where I talk about Mariko and the winery. Now, Mariko was working in an office, which she decided to give up that life and train in winemaking in France. And she was inspired by Christian Binel in Alsace and trained with him. She came back to Japan, and from 2020 she planted her own vines. She has 3 hectares of 20 different varieties, focusing mainly on Pinot Gris and Gewürztraminer. Mariko is planning to open her own winery in 2027, but since the 2022 vintage, she's been making her wines at Domaine Oyamada in Yamanashi, where she also trained, and the first wines were released in 2022. There are 2 main cuvées. The first is Rose à Lèvres, which is inspired by Christian Binel's Sea Rose. It's a red blend, and there's another Charles red blend. Mariko speaks fluent French and English, and she will make videos on YouTube in both languages. What is more impressive is that she did all this as a single mother, planting the vines, making the wines, and launching the winery. And if you want to see some really good use of AI, you can see some of her Instagram videos where she brings the character from the label to life, and there's even examples where she's walking through the vineyard. It's really charming, and I recommend you check it out. Next up is Kisvin. Now, Kisvin is an interesting project that started in 2001 by Yasuhiro Ogihara with other wine growing friends. They had Project Kisvin, and by 2009 he saw the potential to make his own wines and wanted to find a winemaker that he could really believe in, that shared his vision with the project. Now, he read a blog by a young winemaker called Mayu Saito, who at the time was studying in California, and she was talking about her experience in Corsica learning winemaking. And he decided this was the lady he wanted to work with, and he headhunted her. He flew to California to approach her and offer her to be the co-founder, the winemaker at Kisvin. She had 1 year to go, and he said he would wait. That's fine. Maya joined in 2013, and the first vintage she had to do while pregnant. She couldn't taste the wine, she had to work on site and smell alone. And she gave birth about a week or 2 after the first vintage and was back out in the vineyard. Another really inspiring single mother in the wine industry in Japan. These wines are quite classic. They're Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. They also make an interesting emerald koshu. Because koshu turns that dark pink color with sunlight, it develops a bitter note. So they cover it with a reflective umbrella to prevent that bitterness and full ripening coming through, and that's their emerald koshu. Emerald being green, slightly underripe. Now, while researching my book, I came across a winery I'd seen before called Natan Wine, and really inspired me. I loved the story so much, I even shared the first drafts with friends and family to say, look, you've got to read about this lady. She's fantastic. Namika doesn't speak English, so we communicated. Sometimes she used translation machines, sometimes I wrote in Japanese. Namika-san, gomen nasai, eigo de hanashiteru kono video kedo jima ga aru kara yaku ni tatsu kamoshirenai. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. So, who is it? It's Namika Inoshita. The story starts, single mother walks into a bar with her friend, knowing nothing about wine apart from red and white. Bowled over by an Italian wine, turns to the owner and says, I want to work here. She starts the next day. He was looking for someone to replace her. Over the next years, she trains as a sommelier. She trains in winemaking while raising 2 children by herself, bringing them to school, working the bar in the evenings, and eventually sets up her own winery, Natan Winery, because her child called her Nachan. Namika, Nachan is Nachan. So Natan Winery. She's now remarried and she has 5 children in total. The day after she left hospital, after the birth of her 5th child, she was back in the winery inspecting tanks. This lady is superhuman. The styles are Japanese wines for Japanese palates. She trained at Yellow Magic Winery, which is aimed at uncompromisingly Asian wines for Asian flavors. They're not trying to be European wines. Now, these are minimum intervention wines, wild yeast, additive free. She has 1.5 hectares of her own grapes. This includes quite a variety. There's 8 different varieties. I'm going to read from my book. Campbell Early, Muscat Bailey A, Pinot Noir, Delaware, Mon Brie, Neo Muscat, Riesling Lion, Curaçao, and Yama Sauvignon. The reason she refers to it as a witch's brew is that there's magical microorganisms that are at play to make this and she calls it a witch's aphrodisiac, and you see the witch in the logo. She reckons it's an aphrodisiac that intoxicates the drinkers to reveal their true feelings, and she likens herself to a witch, as well as having some cheeky labels. I don't think she's a witch at all. I think she's a superhero, but they both wear capes, right? All this and more, much more, is contained in my book, the comprehensive book on Japanese wine, simply titled Japanese Wine by Nick Rowan. That's me.